Hey guys, welcome back. So today we want to talk about takedown AR15s. At one point they were gaining in popularity, a number of different companies were making them, but today it seems like a lot of those manufacturers have ceased production of them and they're kind of going the way of the dodo, and we want to explore the reasons why. We brought out one example that I thought was rather interesting. We've talked about different, not necessarily takedown rifles, but ways to shorten the AR-15. You have, the Law Tactical Folder. You can do, pistols with braces and, quick change barrels, and, like the Dolo system, one of the first innovators in that space, where you had a quick change barrel. You just literally twist the handguard and pull the entire barrel assembly apart, and you could put it into a very small package. But again, the Dolos is no longer in production. Even Springfield Armory did the Saint evac, and I saw one pop up online for $5,000. They couldn't give them away. It goes back to a video we did once before, where nobody wants them when they're on the market, and then when they're no longer in production, people go crazy for them. But we brought out the Ruger, and Ruger has ceased production of this particular rifle. I was always intrigued by it, so because of the bag it came with and everything, it was something that I could ride a motorcycle with, and it's very discreet, minus the Ruger patch, which comes off. And so we were out playing with it the other day, kind of, it was new, unfired when we started playing with it, and we'll talk about some of that. But, Jason, what do you think of the concept of a takedown AR-15, especially in the age of where we're living under the threat of the ATF changing up the rules again and taking away braces? Where do you stand on the takedown AR-15? Were you ever intrigued by them? Do you ever see a value in them? And, in general, what are your thoughts on them?
Well, in terms of AR-15 takedowns and things of that nature, so anytime you mess with a barrel on a gun, and we've noticed this before, once you zero a firearm and you have a barrel that's removable and put on, take off, whatever it is, and it's quick, generally with quick comes accuracy issues. And I think a lot of companies may have suffered from that, and so maybe they stopped making it that.
An example of that would be the Beretta ARX 160. Remember
the 100.
The 100, the 160 is the military version. Barrel comes out very quickly, but we've never really gotten really good accuracy with the gun either.
Exactly. I mean, the accuracy on the ARX 100 was never very good, but yeah, the barrel pops right out of those things. You lock it to the rear, pull the two little tabs, and right out the front it comes. Right. Very quick system. Same with like the AUG. You had the AUG where you lock it back, push the button, rotate it, the barrel come right out of the thing.
But on the other side of that, one of the most accurate 5.56 rifles ever made.
Right, in terms of it being, fairly quick, but that's not really a takedown feature. That wasn't like something for I guess you could say storage. That was probably more for cleaning or to change it to an LMG or whatever it is.
Or to a much shorter version of CQB.
Down. Right, CQB, LMG, full size. You could change the barrel lengths by that. The AR-15, you had the Law Technical Side Folder, so you could take your buffer tube, because that was the biggest thing, was trying to save some size by allowing one of the features that can't be removed from an AR-15, and that's the buffer tube. By taking it and side folding it, you reduce its overall size. Then you had companies that had where the rifle literally like split in half, you know what I mean?
The X-Tar, I think it's called, yeah.
At the receiver, so the upper and lower receiver would, split, and the barrel assembly would split, and it would fold in half.
The Air Force rifle. Remember the Air Force rifle? Yeah. The Midwest Industries made the Rail 4. It had two levers that popped off. They could quickly take the barrel off and store it underneath the pilot's ejection seat. Mm-hmm. So the U.S. military actually went into that, the takedown rifle realm. So
I think there is it's one of those things I love. I love the fact that you can take down an AR-15 and put it into small packages, because lately there's been a theme going on with like Gray Man, putting a firearm in a backpack that is not like this pack here by Ruger. I can tell, being a gun person, that's got a gun in it. It's a long pack, it's narrow, it looks tactical with the molly on the front. But there's been, because like on T-Rex, Lucas, he's been doing a lot of backpack things, and he's a proponent of having just like a regular like JanSport backpack or something that like
Vortex makes really nice discreet
looks like
bags.
A gamer almost, or even like something just you wouldn't look at that backpack and go, "There's a gun in there."
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I like the idea of takedown firearms because they can be put into small packs and moved around for camping or stored under the seat or whatever it may be. But like you said, a lot of companies come out with these things and then they go the way of the dodo and they just disappear. Now, this Ruger one that we had here, this Ruger takedown, which they do the 22s still, the 1022, they still have a takedown, but they stopped it on the 556. Couldn't tell you why. I mean, I know with this particular rifle, we had a lot of troubles in the beginning with, I guess, the charging handle or something, like snagging on things and all sorts of stuff. So there seemed to be a little QC issues going on.
It was
there.
binding up, and we did some research online and discovered that not just the takedown models, but the SR556 AR15's from Ruger in general have this problem. And it does seem to stem from the T-handle charging handles that we found in the gun, because it has really weird wear points on it. It's wearing from being pressed up against the top of the receiver when you're trying to pull it to the rear. Does not have proper engagement with the front of the carrier, so it's already pushing a shelf up on the front. And so it seemed like when you're pulling the T-handle to the rear, it's camming that front end up and binding it to the point where you can't get the bolt to the rear.
Right.
And we slapped in a Radian Systems charging handle, and voila, it works like a normal AR-15.
But I know with a lot of the stuff, like I want to say with the Dolo system, you had like your generation 1, maybe even up to 3 or something like that, where they were making evolutionary changes to it. And I think they're ultimately that ended up being pretty good, but it would wear, right? So the more you would take it down and use the system, it would wear, and then it wouldn't lock up correctly, or the rail, they started using, I would say, YHM rails or something like that. You could actually clock it, and the rail would look canted on there because it's wearing and it's starting to rotate more than where it should.
Yeah.
You know, so there was systems like that, because the more you take it down, you're going to wear, and then it starts to get wonky. You know, and I think that kind of ultimately killed those things. I know with like the Springfield one, to me, with this potential brace rule that's coming out, which is just ridiculous. Again, arbitrary rule changes and things of that nature. We've talked about this in videos, that they probably stopped that product because the idea of it being small, it was a pistol, but if you can't put the brace on it or anything, they stopped making it. But that was a very nice, compact. It's almost like they bought the Dolos rights, if you will, because it utilized that same system in terms of, you know, rotating the handguard and pulling the barrel system off, and it had like a law tactical style system where you could side fold the buffer tube. So it was a very compact thing, and it came, I think, in a backpack or something like that.
Kind of like this Ruger, but you know what's interesting is, you know, with the EVAC or the Dolo system, you're taking the handguard and barrel off as one unit. With the Ruger, you're just taking the barrel out of the handguard. The handguard stays on there. You're really only saving about 4 inches.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 inches or something like that.
Yeah, so it was minimal. I think that's probably the reason this one didn't do very well, because compared to other products that were on the market, there were smaller takedown rifles once they were taken down.
Right.
And so, I mean, just taking a look at it, of course, we have this bag with external pockets, which were nice. And Ruger, I hate saying this, Ruger, like when the old man was alive, Bill Ruger, he didn't like 30-round magazines, and he is kind of an old curmudgeon, but, you know, Ruger really was known for quality. They made a handful of products. They didn't like make every type of gun under the sun. Then after his passing, Ruger really started to spread their wings and try different things. They went into AR-15 market, something Bill Ruger never would have done. They sell 30-round magazines, something Bill Ruger was vehemently opposed to. You know, they really started to spread their wings. But I think perhaps they're a victim of their own success, because a lot of the times the quality control we're seeing in modern manufacturing and in companies like Ruger that historically have a very good reputation for quality, the quality's lacking. And we found that to be the case with this rifle. There is no excuse for this T-handle not to work. I mean, this gun has been on the market since the 1960s, this being the AR-15. You can't get the charging handle right? Seriously? You know, so you know, with this particular kit, you have your 16-inch barrel, and this is your barrel, your gas block. You have 3 gas settings, and then an off setting, a 0 setting. It has, you know, its piston in here. Then there's a second piston that rides inside the handguard that actually hits the tappet on the carrier. But when this is placed into the gun, this is about the only length that you're saving, right? So here's the barrel, very easy, has a really cool locking system, lug system back here, uses an interesting way of locking in.
I want to say Ruger's first AR-15 was the like SR556, and it was a piston gun. I want to say that was like their first introduction to the AR market was a piston gun.
And now they've gone DI.
Yeah, now they've got a lot of DI models and things of that, and I don't even think they make the piston guns anymore at all.
Yeah,
Probably
I mean,
cost
piston
savings,
AR-15s are kind of like, you know, it it was just one of those things. I was totally opposed to it, kind of like 40 Smith & Wesson versus 10 millimeter. It's like, it's just dumb. Just go to the 10 millimeter with, with these, same thing. But anyway, I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole.
All right.
So this is how you would, this is your primary takedown, right? So the barrel comes out of the handguard. Now, they had different versions of this. This would be one of the later versions with the key mod. The earlier versions would have more of an aluminum thing that have screw-on panels and stuff like that. So this would be a later production of the gun. But right here on the handguard, this is integral to the locking mechanism of the barrel into the receiver. And so this does have the Radiant Systems charging handle in it, because we can actually open the action on this. I got my little trap door there I got to pop open and take the bolt out. But you want to make sure the bolt's back before you put the barrel in. But this is really kind of ingenious how Ruger did this. So you just kind of slide the barrel in, kind of cant it off to the left-hand side as it goes in, and you just kind of wiggle it around and then just twist it. And when it clicks, it locks, and this is the locking tab right here. And so if you want to unlock it, you just pull down these tabs and twist, and it unlocks, and the barrel can be pulled out. So that is the takedown feature of this. And then just like many other takedown rifles, you just unpin the upper from the lower, and
it's a standard.
Oh, and the bag that it comes with, you can't leave the sight on it based on the pouches that it provides, which I thought was rather short-sighted in designing the pouch for the rifle. You have to take the sight off too, so get a quick detached sight for it if you're going to rock one of these rifles. But yeah, then you just kind of pin the upper to the lower.
We noticed that carrier she just wants to come out of there.
It is. It's really slick. I don't know if it's nickel boron or if it's just in the white, but it's really, really slick. These pins are really, really tight. So with the Radiant Systems, it's nice and smooth. Before we were like, and like
really
whack,
having to
and then,
fight it.
And it was just tearing up the T-handle because the T-handle was not in proper engagement with the bolt carrier for some reason. So now here we have the entire rifle. It's all set up. And then if you want to put a red dot sight on it, you have to go the QD route because, again, poor design of the bag doesn't allow for storage with the sight on it. And now you have a rifle. So we did a quick test on the clock, and gosh, it was like 49 seconds it took me to take it out of the
no practicing whatsoever.
Not taking it out of the bag, just putting the parts together. No, actually I did take it out of the bag, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You started with it, like, I believe, in the bag, unzipped it, opened it, and put it all together. And I want to say it was right around 50 seconds or somewhere in there. So it wasn't too bad. And I'm sure with practice, with anything, you can get faster and faster and faster. I do know that, like, during our testing of this particular gun, because I instantly thought, I was like, oh, wow, you're pulling that barrel, we're going to have some point of impact shift for sure.
Yeah.
So we did some, testing in terms of, like, taking the barrel off. We left the sight in place, took the barrel out, put the barrel back in, and would shoot. And we shot with ball, which with ball, it's, I want to say, a 1 1/8 twist barrel on there. It did okay, probably, 3-4 inches in terms of that. With
typical
100 yards.
Military ball accuracy.
Yeah, typical accuracy there. Put some match in it. It did pretty well.
77 grain stuff it seemed to like.
Yep.
So it settled down and shot, okay groups with the 77 grain
MOA,
stuff.
wasn't it? Probably around MOA or somewhere in there.
It'd be pretty close to MOA or just a little over. And we did take the barrel out, put it in, take it out, put it in between each set, and we noticed that there was minimal shift, if
Very
any.
minimal. So that was nice to see. I have to say, that was nice. Now, the more you do that, though, I'd be curious. But again, that would take a lot of open and close, open and close, open and close, open and close.
And just rounds fired.
Right.
Just
all that time to work with it. Would that wear in to where you would start getting accuracy issues? So that's a question that I, pose to the why takedown rifles come out, they stick around for a minute, and then they die off. It's because potentially there is that problem with the accuracy issues. I know with that foldable gun that we would have point of impact shift until it, like, fired and settled itself back in, because the way that they had it cut, so where your star chamber, if you will, would go back in there and it would recess into, like, almost like a cone shape, that until it fixed itself and settled itself in, you would have a point of impact shift. Well, you and I are always the same on this. I could care less, really, how accurate the gun is in terms. As long as my first round goes where I want it to go, that first cold bore shot on, like, a hunting rifle or whatever it is, goes to that same point every time, that's the one that really counts. And when you have a gun that you put it together and you shoot and you're 5-6 inches off here,
Right.
and then it works its way back to center.
Minimal use.
Right. That's not going to do you any
Not
good.
practical.
And so with this particular one, you're not like 4 or 5 inches in terms of length change. You know what I mean? And so
I know,
it's
right?
really not.
I mean, literally, so you have, here's the full-size rifle. Here's your savings, right? I'm just going to pop this off here really quick. There's your length savings. And then you unpin the upper from the lower.
Right.
And you can do that with any AR-15.
Exactly.
And, there's no folding provision. But I'm not a huge fan of the side folding stocks either, right? They're like the early Colt design that was copied by Maxim Defense, where they, half the length of the buffer tube. I'm more inclined to use something like that because, you can fire it collapsed. But the Colt even not only collapsed very small and had a short little half length buffer tube, but it also folds to the side. I'm talking about the SCW video we did.
Yep.
But I've never been a big fan because it doubles the thickness and it makes a case like this wider when you have to fold that stock. So Ruger opted just to go with a standard
Lower, unpin your
M4
upper and lower,
length.
and kind of keep things slim, because I know, in some videos out there that I've seen, when you put the Law Tactical side folder on there, and I want to say it folds to the left,
It does.
you want to put your, lights and things on that side of the gun to try to streamline it as best you can. Take advantage of that. Once it folds to the left, you put your light and everything over here and kind of keep that thickness the same on one side of the gun.
So you're not
Right,
tripling
doubling
the
it,
thickness.
right? You got your light on the right side, it folds to the left. Now you got thickness on both ends going on. So I happen to like the Law Tactical thing. I know a lot of people with bags, they'll do like a 10.3 inch Mark 18 upper on there, and they'll have that Law Tactical, and they'll either fold that and put that into a bag, or they'll unpin them and put them, on top of each other, if you will. So there's different bag layouts that you can do. Do I think the takedown thing is dead? No, I'd love to see it evolve into something, even better. I like the Midwest Industries Air Force rifle. That was a really cool thing. That gun shot really well, and it was very compact when you could pull those two tabs.
It was a very intelligent system.
You could have the pistol grip that they had, where I think you pushed the button and it folded. So it took advantage of compacting that down as small as you could get it. And
It literally fits into a case that big because, again, it has to go into a pilot's ejection.
Exactly.
Survivals, in his ejection seat, the survival pack that's contained within it. And
So-
yeah, very logical. I think if Springfield would have kept the evac around and just gotten rid of the pistol, made it like the Ruger rifle we see here, but have it take off the handguard too, that seriously shortens the entire package. We could shorten the case even more because this rail being attached to the upper becomes the weak point in the system. If you take that rail off, now you're shortening the length of that receiver, thus the entire package. So I still think it would have value as a 16-inch barreled gun as an evac, but they just ditched the whole program. And Ruger did too. A lot of these companies that made takedown rifles have stopped AR-15s. And I think that's due to lacking sales. I don't think it's so much a design flaw or issues with the guns themselves. I just think it's just not appealing to the market. Most people go, well, I'll just unpin my upper from my lower. I mean, we ran into that when we talked about the Dolos years ago. It's like, no, guys, look, here's an AR-15 unpinned sitting next to a Dolo system, and you can see there's like an 8-inch difference in favor of the Dolos. And people are like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Right, so they don't really see until you actually show them what it is. Plus, with a lot of this takedown stuff comes added cost. There's a lot more parts that go in with it. And
proprietary parts.
Exactly. Proprietary parts is a big one. So if something fails or breaks and maybe they do stop production, you're out of luck at that point. You know what I mean? Or the cost, when they look at that and they say, well, I'll just unpin my upper and lower and whatever it is. I don't want to pay that extra money for the features that that's offering. But to me, I like the idea of having a backpack firearm. To me, the best one that I've ever come across is the Rattler with 300 Blackout, the 5.5-inch barrel. I think that is the optimal backpack firearm with a QD suppressor on it and the ability to have the side folding stock on there.
Which is very thin.
Exactly. The SIG has taken and thinned out that stock, and it folds perfectly to the side. That, to me, is like the best backpack firearm out there. You get great power out of the 300 Blackout with that size. And I believe that's probably really good. I like the Midwest Industries Air Force rifle. That one is probably one of my top picks as well in terms of a takedown. I'm not entirely sure if they still make it. I hope they do, but that was
I
a
think
really
they stopped. They did.
really good gun. And then but this neat concept, neat idea from Ruger. It's just you weren't really saving
The handguard
much.
had to come off.
Yeah.
Right, this is insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
Literally just unpin your upper from your lower.
Right.
And just deal with the extra couple of inches. So yeah, I don't think that the takedown AR has much of a future. I don't think it's market appealing. I mean, I understand it, and I've seen some really good designs. I've seen some really bad designs, but I just don't think the consumer sees the value. So therefore, I'm applaud companies that try to make them, but I think the reason they're dropping off the market is just simple denial of market access. Now, these things were not inexpensive. Like these were much more expensive.
Oh yeah,
than their
piston
standard
guns were
AR-15.
Really expensive.
Right, and that's a big turnoff. People don't want to pay that much of a premium to save 4 inches. So this was a doomed product from the beginning. Better designs still went the way of the Dodo. I think the EVAC was a better design, but
There was a time period, and it wasn't that long ago, that truck gun was like the main category. I'd use this as my truck gun. I'll have this as a truck gun. Or I heard that phrase so many times in the gun shop. This great truck
we used
gun,
it.
you know what I
The
mean?
underfolding, Wasser 10 is my truck gun. The thing's
Right.
still covered in rust. I just throw it in the bed of the Polaris and forget it's there until I need it.
So, I don't think that concept should die. I think, that there's a very real thing to carrying rifle firepower on your back. If you've ever actually put a rifle in a backpack with a kit on there, and by a kit, I mean a couple magazine, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
When you get light, optic, the firearm, loaded magazines in there, and just a couple of them, and you've got that on your back, plus maybe a few extra pieces of medical and things of that nature, it's pretty heavy to tote around,
Well, and keep in mind, systems like this don't lend themselves to quick assembly. It took me a minute, and I already had the backpack off. So it's not like you're going to respond to a threat in a timely manner. If you want to have a rifle cartridge in a small package, we go back to the Virtus and the Rattler as being a good option. They have it in 5.56 and 300 blackout. I think 300 blackout's by far the wiser decision in picking the cartridges. But that, because you can fold it stock, you can detach the suppressor. For now, it's a brace you can fold, but in the future, if ATF goes through with their threats, the braces will go away. But that's still a faster solution because you can carry it in a Vertex bag and, the over-the-shoulder single sling, and you can whip it around in front of you, quick unzip. It has like an emergency pull tab, and boom, it's out,
fully
folded.
assembled.
It's fully assembled.
You could start firing without the suppressor if you wanted to.
Yeah. The suppressor's
I mean?
optional. That just makes it shorter. But yeah, if you needed to get to your gun for self-defense as something as your bug-out gun, I would not recommend this Ruger in any way, shape, or form because it's not the right design. Your best option is just to go with a very small firearm that you can fit into a bag that's ready to go at a moment's notice. That includes using, Law Tacticals. There's another one, was it the Clubfoot folder? There's another popular one out there.
There's a couple different companies now that have kind of taken the Log Tactical adapter and kind of made their
evolved
own
it into
variation
superior
of
products.
something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to me, I would say probably my best backpack gun, the best thing that I carry right now.
Aviator arms. Sorry.
Jesus. No, I don't want to get punched in the face and have to set my flag and make sure I don't get hit in the face. But no, I would say it is the SIG X10 right now. I have extremely powerful round, 10 millimeter being no slouch. We've tested this plenty. 15 rounds plus magazine, red dot and light in a small package.
Yeah.
And I can put that in anything. So that right now is my backpack gun.
Yeah.
It's
I'd
pretty
like to
interesting.
see more PCC's chamber 10 millimeter. We're seeing that happen.
Yeah, B&T makes a 10 mil. High Point makes a 10 mil, which is alarming, but it works.
I was very nervous first time firing buffalo bore through it, but
I
it
remember
worked.
that.
I didn't die.
It's like, oh my God, we're going to load this. And just
I wonder how ZMAC and
here.
10 millimeter pressures work, but
there's been many companies now with PCCs or pistol caliber firearms, if you will, that are chambering 10 millimeter.
Yeah.
And that, like we said, is no slouch. So those being the size that they are, yes, of course, if they do away with braces, you'll have this, you can short barrel rifle it, whatever you want to do. But those, to me, seem to be the better option in terms of having a small, compact firearm with a lot of power, but I'm just using a regular old handgun.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think it's interesting. I do think the concept has been tried. I think it's failed. I don't really anticipate any big manufacturers bringing new takedown rifles to market. Not for the masses. You might have some of the higher end gun manufacturers like DRD, that make really expensive, high quality, multifaceted rifles. But just your Rugers, your Smith & Wesson M&Ps, your Colts, your FNs, your BCMs, your LWRCs. I don't think any of those companies are going to touch takedown rifles anymore. I just don't think the market.
No, I don't think they will either. And it was quite interesting to see when Springfield did bring out that evac. When I first because we had one or two of them come through the store new, and I was like, what the? I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, this is the Dolo system. Oh my God, this is rather cool. And it came like in a little backpack, and I was like, wow, that's really cool.
It's so cool it didn't sell, and now that they're gone, they're $5,000.
I just find it interesting that a company came out, brought this out, the evac, the backpack gun, gray man, if you will. You know what I mean? Having rifle power in a small package. But again, they chose, I want to say, some 7.5 inch or 8 inch barrel length and 5.56, and I was like, holy Jesus, it's a flashbang going off in your face every time.
Well, it had a blast diverter on it too.
Sure, right. That does nothing. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, it's funny you bring up Gray Man. I just watched it on Netflix. What an amazing movie! I don't know if you've seen it, but holy cow, you got to watch Gray Man on Netflix.
All right,
that's unreal. So anyway, all right. So I think we're in agreement that the takedown AR-15, neat concept, tried by many big names or several big names, and it just kind of went nowhere. And I think we've probably seen the end of the takedown AR-15 in the future. I don't think too many more companies are going to invest money into it because I don't know of anybody that's successfully marketed one and sold thousands and thousands and thousands of units,
right?
Which is why everybody's moved away from it. So anyway, I do look forward to your comments, guys. What do you think of the takedown AR-15? Do you have one? Do you like it? How do you use it? Comment down below. We do read through those comments, and it gives us content ideas for future videos.
I do want to know. I do. I want to know how many people have takedown guns of some kind and use it and enjoy it, and how long it's lasted for them.
Right,
Please
and what kind?
Comment down below, because I want to read those too.
I wish we could put polls in the comment section. Maybe someday YouTube will get on that.
Make, model, and what you got, how long it's lasted. Definitely, I want to see it.
Definitely look forward to those comments, guys. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, best way to do that, to become part of our Patreon family, get extra perks, early access to videos like this one, and some other stuff. There's a link in the video description below. Please consider supporting us over on Patreon. Another option right here on YouTube, you got that little join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash that join button, and you can support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. And last but not least, guys, please swing by, check out coppercustom.com. Thank you guys for 14 years of support. We love you guys. Be safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, guys.